Thank you. First, President Rhodes, thank you for that wonderfully eloquent introduction. We all indeed are honored and humbled by your presence here this evening, and so sorry that your lovely wife, Rosa, couldn't be here with us. We wish her Godspeed in getting well. But indeed, we all are indebted for your outstanding leadership and continued service as Cornell's ninth, and indeed, one of Cornell's very greatest presidents. My friend Martin Tang, you once again have demonstrated your love and commitment to Cornell and your fellow Asian alumni by flying all the way over from Hong Kong to support this evening's festivities, and also agreeing to take on the very difficult task of finding something nice and impressive to say about me. Thanks, Martin, for all you've done and continue to do for Cornell. Our CAAA President Monica introduced several of the dignitaries here this evening. There are so many more indeed, others here whose presence I should acknowledge. Given the large number, I was tempted not to do so. But then I recalled the numerous weddings and new baby parties that I've attended at this and other Chinatown restaurants over the decades, in which speakers went on and on introducing the attendees. You know, you've been to those dinners. Well, you know, I used to get really upset and weary of these long acknowledgments until one day a speaker explained in English for the non-Chinese speaking members of the crowd the reason that these acknowledgments were made, as they have been indeed for thousands of years. And that is that it is these dignitaries who are acknowledged in these introductions that were the legal witnesses to the event, serving the purpose of being able to attest to it. So permit me to extend that Chinese tradition yet further this evening by acknowledging some of the many other notable guests here that Monica didn't mention at this evening's 20th annual banquet at the Cornell Asian Alumni Association. Please hold your applause until I get through them all, or else we will be here all night. First, of course, my family and friends, some of whom have come from afar to be with me here on this special evening. My mother, Frances Chu from Westchester. My niece, Karen. Please hold your applause, as much as I love Mom. Okay. My niece, Karen, her husband, John, both the class of 1996. And their children who've gone home back to their hotel, AJ and Alexandra, they're all from Boston. My longest and dearest friend from our high school years together at the United Nations International School, Dr. Michael Richardson, who came in from Chicago for this evening, and his daughter, Adassa. My Johnson School classmates from the class of 1971, Randy Hatch, Tom Senker, and Jack McPhail. Friends from New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut, Westchester, including not only my long-term friend, the celebrated WPIX reporter, Kadi Tong, but also fashion designer, Zhang Toi, and philanthropists, Miranda and Hamburg Tang. Of course, Nancy Zimpher. It's already been introduced, but I should acknowledge that Nancy and I go way back to our years together in Ohio. Thank you, Nancy, for serving the great state of Ohio, then Wisconsin, back to Ohio, and now my home state of New York. With us this evening are also several Cornell trustees, Jean Resnick, Bob Harrison, Marcus Liu, Paul Salvatore, and Cheryl Wudun. Members of Cornell University Council's Administrative Board, Ken Garola, thank you Ken, Annie Wong of course, and my fellow vice chairs, Katrina James and Jay Taylor. And also, all the students here tonight who took a break from their studies to come down from Ithaca to be here with us this evening. And finally, CAA's past honorees, Martin Tang, Cheryl Wudun, Jane Hyun, and Annie Wong. My apologies now to all of you who might inadvertently fail to mention by name, but indeed, thank you all, friends of Cornell and friends of the Cornell Asian Alumni Association, for coming and making this evening so special. Thank you. Thank you also for your support of this idea of a new Pan-Asian garden at Cornell Plantations, and congratulations to Plantations Director Don Rakow for all you have done in making the Plantations a place that continues to inspire and inform generations of Cornellians and visitors. Now, everyone smile so I can get my picture here for Facebook. Here we go. Smile. For those of you on Facebook, please look for me and friend me, Roderick Chu. I'm especially pleased that Trustee Cheryl Wudun and former honoree is here this evening in the corner table with her husband, New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof. Of course, as you know, Cheryl and Nick have won a joint Pulitzer Prize and the Dayton Literary Peace Prize for lifetime achievement. I follow Nick Kristof's postings on Facebook and was pleased to see his column this week entitled China's Winning Schools, because it provided a wonderful backdrop for this evening. Excuse me, this won't take very much longer. In his column, Mr. Kristof explains that 4 of the 5 places in the world with the highest student educational performance in math, science, and reading have a Confucian legacy and reverence for education. As a College Board trustee and chancellor, I've seen the results in this country with students of Asian heritage, on average, outpacing the educational performance of whites and the other minorities. Growing up with a Confucian father and grandfather, I was the beneficiary of my family's high expectations and their sacrifice to provide me the best education I could get. My mother, of course, joined in these expectations and sacrifices and has been an exemplary role model of integrity, achievement, and giving. She is our dinner co-chair, Francis Wong's predecessor as a president of the Rotary Club of Chinatown. Among her many notable accomplishments, Mom was one of the first woman Rotary Club presidents in the world when she was the first Asian woman vice president of Chemical Bank. And she continues to serve on her Rotary District Foundation's board. And like most moms, she's also been a very proud and encouraging mom of her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Thanks, Mom. You know, it was about 12 years ago when I was to receive my first honorary degree when I was Ohio's chancellor, that my mom told me of my then 99-year-old grandfather that both his grandson, me, and my great-grandson, Karen's brother, would be receiving doctoral degrees that year. She told me how my grandpa perked up, age 99, and said in his native Toisan dialect that he didn't realize that I had gone back to school. Well, when Mom told him no, I actually hadn't, he gloomily told her, "Oh, well, that doesn't count. It's just those kinds of degrees that they just give away." Well, despite my achievements in private business and government and in education, in some ways I had always been a failure in my dear grandpa's mind because I hadn't earned my doctorate. I remember how disappointed my father was when I wasn't admitted to Cornell for my undergraduate studies and so went on instead to the slouch school called the University of Michigan. Pop, in fact, had been admitted to Cornell after returning from his post-World War II U.S. Army assignment in Shanghai, where he would meet the beautiful young woman who would become my mother. However, as a poor immigrant, even with the GI Bill benefits, Pop couldn't afford to attend the school of his dreams and instead enrolled in Hunter College. I'm glad I was able to get admitted to Cornell for my MBA and experience the wisdom of my father's dream of getting a Cornell education. It's why I'm also particularly pleased that this organization, CAAA from its inception, and my family have endowed scholarships at Cornell to support needy students. I tell you these stories because it says how important our families can be. First, in keeping our egos in check, but but also because it demonstrates Nick Kristoff's point of how important securing a good education for their kids is and has been for so many Asian families throughout the world. The sacrifices my parents made afforded me the opportunity to learn from them and from the talented faculty and students in some of this country's finest schools. That education has served me well, and my education has continued throughout my life. I've learned how vitally important education is, not just for one's personal success, but also for the vitality of our communities, our nation, and indeed our entire democratic way of life. This realization is why I am passionately continuing to seek ways we can better educate all Americans, so we can rekindle the American dream that I've been so fortunate to have lived. It is why in these difficult economic times, we all must continue to support our educational institutions and educators, while at the same time insisting that they reinvent themselves to take on the difficult yet critically important task of successfully educating many, many more of our fellow Americans for an ever-changing and challenging future. It was the German writer Goethe who once observed, "Everywhere we learn only from those whom we love." So this evening, I'm proud to acknowledge my debt to my family, my friends, but especially to my professor, advisor, and friend of 42 years, Joe Thomas, now Dean of Cornell's Johnson Graduate School of Management, who embodies for me and that's because Joe embodies for me the strength and love that most of us here tonight have for our dear Cornell. I offer you my very best wishes for a joyful, healthy, and bounteous year of the rabbit. Gong hei fa choi, san tai yan hong, man si yu yi. Thank you all for this wonderful honor and this delightful evening.